Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. My name is Brad, along here with Doug.
Hi.
So E3, it's done and it's over. Games
Yep.
have been shown, games have been played, games have been
Not,
disappointing.
not by us. We didn't play any of those games.
I played Resident Evil 7 and Halo Wars 2.
Okay, that's true. And I did play Trials Fusion
So
Blood
we
Dragon, so.
played 3 out of probably about 120 E3 games. So go on,
Mhm.
that's almost a percent.
That is almost a percent. Yeah.
So to wrap up E3, you can look back at some of our coverage. We did recaps of a couple of the different conferences, Bethesda and Sony.
Yeah,
Talked
a
about,
couple.
yeah, we got lazy and busy. But anyway, there's a couple of recaps there if you want to know our thoughts on a bunch of specific things. We did a review for the Resident Evil 7 demo. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to kind of narrow it down. What are the 5 things that impressed you the most about E3? So I think what we're going to do with this is we're just going to go back and forth. We're going to go bottom to top. So, Doug,
Mhm.
what was the 5th most impressive thing to you at E3 this year?
This one actually wasn't even shown at any of the conferences. It's a game I've been following for a while by the guys who did Journey called Abzu. And
Damn it.
I know it's but the thing I liked about this is kind of this. We'll talk about the Horizon demo, I'm sure, somewhere in this.
Oh,
Is
yes.
Abzu is like literally everything I wanted from a potential Journey sequel. Like, it doesn't have to be Journey 2. It's like Journey in a different environment, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous. It is the only trailer of all the trailers I saw where like I didn't want to see more. Like I watched half the trailer, I stopped it, and then I just read previews of like what people were thinking of and talking about it. I was like, okay, this is exactly what I want. This is gonna be like easy day one purchase for me. Like no question. And I was just surprised. I was surprised it looked as good as it did, played as well as people were talking about, and it just seemed like, yeah, like I was saying, just like everything I want from like a next gen Journey.
I could see that. And that's one of those games that I look at and go, that's a Doug game. There is no question
Yeah.
about it. That is a Doug game.
Yeah, I'm finding out like I'm a huge sucker for good art styles. Like I don't even like, because I know you like those Telltale games a lot, and I
Yep.
don't like them as much. I think literally it just comes down to the like, because I think my favorite one is Wolf Among Us, and that's the one with the strongest art style of any of those games.
Yep, for sure it is. Yeah. All
So what
right.
was what was your number five?
So my number 5, and this one kind of shocked me that this even made the list, but oh my god, was I impressed by this game. And that is South Park: The Fractured Butthole. That whole
Okay,
presentation. Oh my
okay,
god,
that's
that blew
the
me away.
presentation or the game itself.
I'm gonna wrap them up into one thing
Okay, okay, yeah.
because first of all, I loved Stick of Truth. That was another game that came out of nowhere. I was like, oh my gosh, I
Hmm.
love this. And I don't know how I feel overall about the game because there wasn't a ton of the game shown. But the
Yeah.
way they presented it, the trailer with them discussing, or the trailer with them discussing, like, oh well, these movies come first, and we're just gonna play superheroes and make billions of dollars. And it's not even about superheroes; it's about them
Yeah.
making money on. And just that whole idea was great. I love hearing Matt and Trey talk about South Park because South Park's one of those things. I'm really not a big South Park fan,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
way they talk about it and the way that they just have this weird passion for this thing that they made
yeah.
is
Hmm.
awesome to me. But just looking at that game and looking how they're setting it up and looking how it's like a day after the Sick of Truth, just everything that came out about that game made me go, okay, this is a game that I am excited to play. This is a game that
Yeah.
I know I'm going to want to sit down and play it. They talked about changes in combat style too, and how the combat's kind of evolved a little bit from just being
Oh yeah,
that
it's like
very
a strategy RPG sort of thing
yeah.
now. With like, I was like, that's kind of neat. Yeah.
And they talked about, you can interact. So if you push somebody into a car, now all of a sudden you get bonus damage off of hitting them into a car. And you've got all these
Hmm.
different aspects in play. So even the improvements to the gameplay, which I normally in a South Park game wouldn't be necessarily looking forward to going like, oh, that looks like it's got some really cool gameplay elements to it.
Yeah.
That's there. The story was great. The way
I think the
Ubisoft presented
gameplay.
it.
I think that from the last one, like the gameplay was the only issue with that game. So like, hey, we're improving the one thing that was wrong with the last game.
Yeah. And again, one of my biggest concerns of this was Obsidian not working on it,
Hmm.
and the way they're presenting that story, the way those things came out, made me forget. Okay, this is by somebody different. This isn't by Obsidian, who's somebody who is held in very high regards in these RPGs. So, not
Hmm.
sure how it ended up there, but that ended up in my top 5. So, hey, there we go.
No, I can understand that. I always think Ubisoft conference. I think Ubisoft has the best conferences, second to only the Sony. Consistently, they're the most entertaining ones by far. I think they're actually more entertaining than the Sony ones. They don't have as good announcements. I just think they have like super entertaining conferences. And I was
Yeah.
surprised how much they were swearing during the South Park
Oh
conference.
yeah, for sure.
I was like, wow, they're really going unedited.
And the
Mhm.
subtle chuckles every time somebody said that name, the fractured butthole. There's so many like tiny chuckles every time they tried to say that name. It was great.
Yeah.
All right, so number 4, what do you got?
We Happy Few.
Really?
Yeah, this was at the Xbox conference. This was oh, I don't know why this one struck a chord with me. I think it's because one of the things I really really love the BioShock series. Like that's probably I think Infinite is probably one of my favorite games ever. I know that people don't like that one as much, but that's actually my favorite BioShock by far. And I kind of felt like that sort of like very strong art style narrative first person shooter is kind of gone by the wayside. Like BioShock Infinite is probably the last one I can even think of that
Yeah.
was kind of like that. And We Happy Few actually like it was just pretty much just story gameplay where that's sort of like you walk around sort of thing. But it was just a really really unique setting. I don't know, just the idea that I think I don't know if you saw it, but like you work as a person who censors newspapers,
Yep.
and then you have to take like joy pills, and the joy pills make the world seem better. But there's a part where they're they're all hitting a pinata, and they're like, oh,
Oh
it's like, oh,
yeah.
why don't you join in the pinata? And like you realize like just beating a dead rat and then eating a dead rat's guts. I was like, what the hell? It was like everything was just very BioShock, and I
Yep.
think I think that's really like, just kind of striking that chord of like very strange first person shooters that I really really enjoyed. I'm kind of glad is coming back at least a little bit. It's not a first person shooter actually, which makes me even feel better about it because BioShock Infinite, I think the biggest issue people had is that it was a first person shooter. It didn't really make sense for that.
Yeah, it's always nice to see games understanding what they are, and I think that game understands very well what it is and what
Yeah.
the audience for it wants. Yeah, there's another scene that really creeped me out. I don't even remember what was going on in the scene, but there were two characters in a room, and the character was looking into the room, and they were doing
Mhm.
something. They just walk up to the thing and just boom, close the blinds like
Oh
super
yeah.
fast. It's like shit, what is going on in there? Like that
Yeah.
trailer really did impress me a lot. That's one of those games where I can't decide if I'm excited for it or not, just because I like the idea of it. It's one of those games where I feel like, what am I going to be doing in this game, though? And that's my
Yeah.
only hesitation with it.
Yeah, it is kind of like a survival game, kind of like a like you have to collect resources and stuff to survive. Then I don't know. It definitely looks kind of weird, but yeah, that does have me a little bit hesitant. But that's one of those games like that just that tick box on what I'm gonna if I'm gonna get an Xbox One.
Yep.
It's like We Happy Few made me jealous. I was like, damn, I need to play
I'll,
that game.
I'll let you know how it is the day it comes out.
No,
I
you're not gonna buy that game the day it comes out. You're gonna wait for that
will
game to come on
consider it.
sale.
I'll
No, you won't.
consider it.
All right.
If that game comes out to like nines across the board, like I think it might, I will
Oh
buy it.
no, no way is that. I know that game's a little too. I don't know. We'll see.
Who knows?
What's your?
Number 4 for me, again, another one I'm kind of shocked by. It was weird what impressed me this year. I was very interested by what impressed me with a couple of these, but God of War. And I
Mhm.
feel like the presentation sold it. Just the way Sony
Yeah.
announced that again. I love the more emotional storytelling aspect that had. I love the idea of opening it up. I love kind of the slower pace that it seemed to take, and just a
Mhm.
lot of what was shown really made me go, "That is a game I'm interested in playing." Which I'm not. Again, just like South Park, I'm not a big South Park fan. I'm not a big God of War fan, but
Yeah. Yeah.
what they did to change that up really impressed me. And watching that, even though it's definitely not one of the games I'm most excited to play later on, but it's
Mhm.
one of those games that intrigued me the most as to what are they going to do with this. This is a studio that does great work, a
Yeah.
franchise that has an awesome history, tons of
Mhm.
story elements to play with, and I'm really excited to see more of it.
Yeah. I actually didn't put that one on my list. Not because like literally just because I knew that we were going to talk about it at some point, so I didn't want to put that. Like that one would probably be like my number one or two. Like just to be honest, because I was as a huge God of War fan, I'm so glad that they mixed it up. That was like I like the series a lot, but man, that game series was getting very stale. I wouldn't say very stale. I'd say Ascension just seemed really unnecessary, um, which sucks because you can tell there's a lot of work that went into that game, and it still felt like not that great. So I'm just,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of glad they mixed up. Yeah, I actually didn't put that one on my list. I probably should have, but
See, I'm shocked
I
because
think
to me that in my mind that's like a number one game for Doug. The way you were talking about that when we did our Sony recap.
oh, it probably would be. It probably would be. I think I literally just took it off my list because I knew we'd talk about it at some point. So we can just put that as like my fake. Actually, I'd put it number two. I now that I think about it, I would probably put it number 2.
You just gotta get your little arty games in there to show off Abzu and We Happy Few instead of getting the big AAA ones. I see what you're doing.
Yeah. I almost put Watch Dogs 2 in here because I did Watch Dogs 2
God,
actually looked because
thank you for
it actually
not.
looked interesting to me. Like
Thank you for not.
yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
I'm not
not.
gonna, yeah.
But anyway, number 3,
Mhm.
which thankfully is not Watch Dogs 2. What do you got there?
Uh I put okay. I put Trials Fusion Blood Dragon announcement.
When we
Okay.
post our review of Trials Fusion later, you will know why we're laughing right now.
Yeah. The announcement was great. I like watching Ubisoft conferences. I've said it many times that I think Ubisoft is probably my favorite conference to watch, second only to Sony's just like a different tier, but just like the rest of everybody else, Ubisoft is always my favorite one. And they always have a nice, fun surprise announcement. And they announced Blood Dragon 2, and it's going to be Trials Fusion DLC, which makes sense. In like some wacky way, it
Yeah.
makes sense. Like we had this wacky Blood Dragon thing. Like you could see Watch Dogs Blood Dragon or Assassin's Creed Blood Dragon, or just like any, you could turn that Blood Dragon thing into any franchise. Like, okay, Trials Fusion, that kind of makes sense. It's been pretty wacky. Um, the game is not good. It's pretty much garbage. It's not garbage. It's really bad though. It's really, really, really bad. It's so bad. Um, which sucks because I really like Trials Fusion. I've literally played all of the DLC. But one of my problems with the last Trials Fusion DLC was that the stuff they actually when they announced at the Ubisoft conference, like the cat on the unicorn was the worst part. Like
Yep.
this is just all of that. That's just like the worst part of the last DLC made into a much longer DLC.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is true. The announcement was cool, just having those
Yeah.
two like weird guys come up and everybody's going like, "Oh God, is this the moment in the Ubisoft press conference where they do the weird shit?" And
Yeah.
they like come up there and it's like, "Oh no, it's Trials. We're gonna do weird shit for Trials." I'm like, Trials makes sense. We should do weird shit for Trials."
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It's like the Trials Fusion guys and the Blood Dragon director are like just being weird and goofy, and announced a weird and goofy game, and it's just like okay, that we are never gonna get Far Cry 4 Blood Dragon. Like that just probably was not gonna
No.
happen. That just sounds very expensive.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but like the fact that it's still alive and it actually is Blood Dragon 2 is kind of neat. Game though, whew,
Not so
game's not
great.
great. Announcement was good though. I was excited for it. So yeah, what's your number 3?
So number 3 for me, and based on your discussion with God of War, I feel like this is probably your number 1. Horizon.
Yeah.
That's your number 1.
What? Yeah, I don't know. Should we wait till? Yeah. So what do we talk about this? So if we talk about this now, then I don't get to say my number 1.
Well, you just said your number 1.
It is my number 1.
Well, anyway, I can give
Mhm.
my 2 cents now, and you can hold your 2 cents later, and we can
Okay.
do we can
No,
go that way.
we'll do it all at once. Doesn't really matter.
Oh man, this is what happens when you don't plan things. So, yeah, these lists are a surprise to both of us, which is fun. So anyway, Horizon.
Yeah.
My thoughts with it, and I said this when we were recapping Sony's press conference. This game showed really well, despite the
Mhm.
fact that they didn't go giant boss fight. They went, here's your everyday mundane part of Horizon, and
Yeah.
it still looks like a ton of fun. It still
Mhm.
looks impressive. So even those tiny things that you're going to be fighting in between the epic boss battles, even those, just the Questron doesn't really seem like much more than kind of almost a fetch quest almost, or like a hunting quest. It doesn't seem like this huge giant quest that you're on, and it still looks like something that looks amazing, looks like a ton of fun. And the
Mhm.
fact that this game can show off that part of it and still get me more excited to play it is amazingly impressive to me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think had they shown maybe some of that bigger stuff that I know is in there, that we all know is going to be in there after the E3 demo last year,
Mhm.
that would have pushed it to number 1 for me. But I love what I saw. I love the fact that they did go, and again, I don't know how hard into the RPG elements, but it's all
Mhm.
there. It is an RPG. It does have all those true RPG aspects. All of that just really sold me on this game.
This game was exactly what I expected, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Like not that I was expecting it to be amazing. I was just like, man, I hope this is kind of like an open world Monster Hunter without all the goofy Monster Hunterness, and they just kind of play it straight, and you can go hunting. And yeah, I don't know. It looks really really good. This game is clearly is like my number 1. It just looks everything about it just looks like that sort of like culmination of video games thus far. Like this is where we are in video games. Like you can have an open world. You know what I think it is? I think it's like one of the first open worlds I've seen that looks really, really creative artistically.
It doesn't look like there's a lot of filler in there.
No, and it does, and it's not a city, and it's not like Far Cry is just like even the Far Cry games are, that's still like a real world setting. It's like the first giant fantasy world that's not, old English fantasy like The Witcher, and it's not just cities. I think
Yeah.
Fallout is probably the only other game I can think of open world wise that's like truly unique environments and truly unique like enemies and things like that. And this is just like an open world third person action RPG that has this super super cool art style too. So I'm totally in on this. It looks so cool. Yeah, this is my number one though. So
So what you're telling me right now is 3 out of the 4 at least are based solely on art style between Abzu, Happy Few, and
well, yeah, I
Horizon.
mean that's why I play games. That's why I'll play like a lot of games if they're like really pretty. I'll pretty much play anything. Like oh my god, the near Automata or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that game looks freaking gorgeous. I was surprised how good looking that game was in the gameplay trailer, and I was like, I wasn't even excited for it at all. And I was like, oh wow, the art style in this is actually super cool. Now it's at the top of my list. Not
Yeah.
this list, but a different list.
There's many lists, many
There's
hidden
many of them.
lists that no one knows about.
It'd be like
So,
in my top 10. Yeah.
anyway, number 2. What you got at number 2?
Oh, what do I have at number 2?
Again, this
Oh,
is what
this one.
happens when
This
you
one
don't
will probably
plan.
be on your list. This might actually be your number 2 as well. The Prey trailer.
Okay, the Prey trailer was at number 4, and then I went, ooh, God of War, I didn't have that in there. That was much more impressive. And then it was at number 5, and I went, but damn, South Park was entertaining.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh, really?
this is really just because I had it in there, and it's like sitting like
Mhm.
I've got a list. I've got 3 games underneath my 5 that I didn't talk about, which are Prey, Titanfall, and Gears.
Mhm.
And my thought with Prey was it was a CG trailer that sold an idea, and that was the only reason I didn't put it on there because that trailer was amazing. I will say that was probably
Yeah.
one of the best just straight out trailers.
Yeah. I can see why you're saying that because it is selling an idea. It's not really selling a game, but I don't know. It's a really cool idea.
It's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. I thought it was just a nice surprise. The only thing I can say I didn't like about it is that it was Prey. Like that was it. Everything else about that looked amazing. I wasn't super happy that it was like a new IP, or that it was
Yeah.
not a new IP, and that it's sort of because it didn't look anything like Prey, and there's nothing to me that attaches me to the name Prey, and I don't really know if anybody else does. Like feels like oh Prey, I loved Prey. I think people liked Prey. I just
Yeah,
don't think there's like anybody really loved it. That it's like
for
oh
sure.
Prey's coming back. It's like yeah,
Yes!
it's like okay,
I've been
could
waiting
have been
6
called any-
years for this.
Yeah, no, exactly.
No, and I love the idea. I love the trailer. Probably
Mhm.
one of the best. I could probably say the best just straight trailer of E3, I think.
Yeah.
There's no trailer like just okay, maybe even narrow it down just like cinematic trailer. I can't think of a better trailer that just sold me on a game than that.
That's true. Most of them were gameplay.
Yeah, exactly. Like and we've talked about this before. Gameplay to me instantly elevates you above CG trailer in my mind.
Mhm.
And we don't even know if that was in engine or not. They didn't really say much about that, I don't think.
That was
So
not it. That was
yeah.
clearly CG.
So again, like that hindered it for me is I saw these other games. I saw these other
Mhm.
games. I know what they are. That one was kind of like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
But my number 2, and I think
Might as well do your number one as well.
we have to go in order, Doug. You can't screw it up now.
Okay.
Jeez. Anyway,
Mhm.
interrupting. My number 2 was the Resident Evil 7 reveal and demo. Essentially, I kind of wrapped it up into one. And I
Yeah.
think it gets bonus points because I could play it, and that's always good for me. But again, this is another thing where I was kind of shocked by. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, love Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Even the later ones that people don't like, I love them. They're fun for what they are. But
Yeah.
just seeing the way that Capcom took this, seeing the fact that they kind of took this integration from PT and they took what PT did, and in my mind, which I know is not the popular opinion, probably in my mind did it better and in a way that better suits me.
Okay.
Maybe not gamers as a whole, but they made PT,
Yeah.
but they made it more straightforward. They made the puzzles not like this like anger inducing
You can
monstrous
finish
thing.
it. You can
Yes.
finish it essentially, and if you
Yes.
want to dig more into it, then you can. I do appreciate that.
Again, I love the fact that Resident Evil is going back to the horror roots. I love the way that
Mhm.
they just revealed it. Like, you kind of saw it, you're like, what the hell is this? And then it's like, oh shit, this is Resident Evil 7. It's very much, I felt like Capcom going, you know what? We understand what we've kind of screwed up in the Resident Evil franchise in most people's minds.
Mhm.
Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's not necessarily even reboot this. Let's keep it in universe. Let's keep the canon and everything. But we're going to go back to the style that sold Resident Evil 20 years ago. And that to
Yeah.
me is a giant refresher. And the demo plays great. The demo is great. It made me curious about VR even, which I'm not big believer in VR right now, but that sold me and went, you know what? Damn, if it's this good as this demo, I might need to get that VR.
So because we already know my number one, what's yours number one, Brad?
So my number one, I don't think will be surprising to you, was the Detroit trailer.
Wow, I thought it was gonna be Zelda. I'm surprised Zelda isn't on either. Well, I'm not surprised it's not on my list. I don't like Zelda.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed by what I saw with Zelda. Honestly, it looks like Zelda. It looks like they took Zelda and brought it into the year 2013, and that's great.
Oh.
Um, I'll still buy it like the first day. Don't worry about it. But it didn't
No,
do
I
much
can
for
understand.
me. But no, Detroit, like I love Quantic Dream games. This looks like Heavy Rain, but in sci-fi, and I love sci-fi, and I love Heavy Rain, and it's one of those things where when I saw the CG trailer last year, and it makes me think that Prey's probably going to be my number one next year because it did the same thing where I saw that trailer and went, oh boy, that's going to be fantastic, and then I saw a little bit more of it this year and went, that almost like you said with Horizon, that is
Mhm.
exactly what I wanted to see from that game.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
It's my type of game in my favorite universe of games with a play style I love by a developer that I know I have a great history with. So just everything about that, completely all in on Detroit. And again, just the choice options, the way the androids and the humans are interacting, this fact that
Mhm.
you've got this backstory of this android capturing this little girl who he already knows and him becoming self-aware and understanding his mirror. There's so much that I love about that story that
Mhm.
I just, it's number one.
I know I can get that. I think it's kind of surprising that both are number one. I kind of thought my number like as I was thinking about it's like oh my number one's gonna be like one of those big surprise announcements. But I realized it really wasn't. It was just like it was that kind of reaction to the surprise announcements last year. It was just
Yeah.
like, okay, show me, you guys showed me something cool last year. Now show me you can actually do it. And they showed get for Detroit as well, in Horizon. Like they showed, it's like no, they like there was no sort of smoke and mirrors. Like that is what the game was,
Yeah.
and that I was really excited about that.
Yeah, which makes me excited for next year when we see more of Prey and we see more of a couple of these other games that God of
Hmm.
War, those types of things where we got big teases for them now with more to come. And if they're living up to it
Yeah,
this year, then there's a good chance they're going to live up to it next year. So hopefully we got good things coming next year.
and hopefully this stuff comes out before then.
Yeah, that'd be nice too. Not a lot of dates on any of the things we talked about now that I think about it.
Mm-mm.
Not a
No,
lot of dates here, but hey, that's
Horizon
how it goes.
next year.
Horizon next year. South Park, I think, has a date. Resident Evil does, but that'll wrap it up for us. So this is the end of our E3 coverage. We are Workforce Gaming. Follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us on wherever you're listening to, and we will see you later.
Bye.